One of the biggest breakout hit new IPs of the console generation was the zombie-kicking Dying Light in 2015, created by Techlands, the developers behind Call of Juarez, and evolved from last generation's Dead Island series. Techlands is hard at work building the sequel to Dying Light, but its wayward relative, Dead Island, has long been missing, and you'd be surprised to hear where Dead Island 2 has been all this time. This is Colteastwood. If you've been with this channel for a couple of years, you might remember a couple of videos I made where I covered the cancellation or possible cancellation of Dead Island 2 in 2016. New info has been sprouting up and I wanted to get that to you. For those of you that are new to the channel, like and subscribe. We're going to talk about both Dying Light 2 and Dead Island 2 and when to expect to get our zombie crushing hands on these two games. Back in early 2014, two very similar games were marketed to the PC and the consoles. One was a campy sequel to Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide. The other was an improved version of Dead Island called Dying Light, made by the original creators of Dead Island, and both were planned for a spring release in 2015. Confusing? Yeah. But Dying Light looked like a true sequel to Dead Island, while leaving the original name behind, while Dying Light climbed to higher ground, now being led by Warner Brothers, leaving Dead Island 2 with their original publisher, Deep Silver, from the Saints Row series. But Dead Island 2 impressed and hyped fans with an incredible and hilarious trailer shown here with a vanity-stricken jogger in Southern California about to become zombie-stricken as he morphs to join that chaotic background carnage on display behind him. In 2015, the only gameplay available of Dead Island 2 was Yager Studios showing at Gamescom. The footage was rushed to the show with sound inconsistencies and stiff, unfinished animations. The visual art style was filtered with an overbearing golden sun overlay, washed out colors, and absolutely grating voiceover work.
Sometimes I impress myself.
Yager Development seemed to be plenty capable of taking on this project, since years earlier they had delivered the fantastic Spec Ops: The Line. But with Dead Island 2, Yager seemed to either be missing the mark or not applying that magic that made Spec Ops so great. In short, Dead Island 2 looked unpolished, uninspired, and lazy. But there's one problem. It actually looked fun. The game boasted 4-player drop-in, drop-out co-op with a persistent open world, meaning you could run alongside random players online and help them with quests naturally. But the Gamescom presentation of Dead Island 2 stirred up a community outcry, and Yager Development was told to go back to the drawing board by Deep Silver. Well, in actuality, Yager and Deep Silver were not seeing eye to eye on the build of the game, and the two teams parted ways so quickly that neither team wanted to talk about it. All of this footage shown here was shown to the public in the summer of 2014, and by the beginning of 2015, Dying Light was ready for release, and Dead Island 2 was nowhere to be found. Dying Light released in January 2015 and became one of the best new IPs on Xbox One and PS4, but garnered better than average reviews. Dying Light was one of my favorite new games and still is. By spring 2015, after we had all played Dying Light, started the DLC, Dead Island 2 was still MIA. At this time, Yager Development was dropped and Dead Island 2 was moved to Sumo Digital Studios. Sumo Digital made the PS4 exclusive Little Big Planet 3 with mixed reviews, but even more interesting, at that time they were busy trying to put together another troubled game, but for Xbox, Crackdown 3. So, in 2015, Dead Island 2 was nothing but a to-do list for Sumo Digital's team. But for 2 years, we never saw a single update, screenshot, or a hint that Dead Island 2 was breathing except for a logo on the website. Even far into 2017, 2 years beyond the original Dead Island 2 release window, GameStop was still taking pre-orders for the game.
Hey, we're calling GameStop where we buy used games and accessories. This is Mike. How may I help you?
Hey, are you taking pre-orders for Dead Island 2?
I think so. Let me double check for you.
Okay.
Sure am.
Okay, how much is it to pre-order?
$5 down.
Okay, hey, thanks.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
In 2018, Techland was ready to showcase Dying Light 2, essentially lapping their baby Dead Island 2 to a sequel release. Dying Light's original game in 2015 looked light years better than Dead Island 2 in visuals and gameplay, and now the sequel looked almost next generation, looking smooth and well detailed. Dying Light's advantage over Dead Island was the parkour movement system, which borrowed heavily from Mirror's Edge and took the best parts of the open world of Dead Island and matured them. Dying Light 2's trailer showcased some amazing visuals with lighting that set the mood of a society ruled by militant factions being dictated by a world infested with zombies outside the walls. This far in, with Dying Light 2 getting ready for release, Dead Island 2 was still in Sumo Digital's hands, and they were busy completing the troubled Crackdown with all hands on deck for that early 2019 release. Crackdown 3 came and went with relatively low scores, and now Sumo Digital is free to work on Dead Island 2? But right around this time, it was reported that Dam Busters is also working on Dead Island 2. Who's Dam Busters? Dam Busters is a Crytek team that developed the critical failure Homefront: The Revolution, and by now you should already be twice as worried about Dead Island 2 as you were before the video started. So Sumo Digital and Dam Busters are working on getting Dead Island 2 together for this console generation. This puts the game under the direction of THQ Nordic, responsible for Darksiders 3 and a handful of other smaller games. So now you're really confused. It's impossible to say if all three, Sumo Digital, Dam Busters, and THQ Nordic, are all working on parts of Dead Island 2, or if they have any right at all to disclose, since the game belongs to the publisher, Deep Silver. In the meantime, Dying Light 2 is being built by Techland, a team of 300 plus developers in Poland, and was such a great showing at E3 2018. Expect to see it one more time at E3 2019 on Microsoft's stage, with a release date at the end of 2019, just a few months from now. Sumo Digital and Dam Busters would be smart to get out of the way of Dying Light 2 at the end of this year and plan to complete Dead Island 2 for the late part of 2020, just 5 years beyond the original release attempt. The original, built from 2014 from Jaeger Development, was targeting the weaker hardware of the base PS4 and base Xbox One, so Dead Island 2 needs a total overhaul to remedy those mistimed animations, dodgy combat intersections, and visual upgrade overall. But regardless, rumors have been swirling for Dead Island 2 to make an appearance this coming E3. There isn't much room for a game like Dead Island 2 in our current gaming environment, with the Dead Rising series stalling out in favor of Days Gone getting PS4 players excited, Dying Light 2 looking to dominate the first-person zombie game, and then The Last of Us 2 more than likely coming out early next year. I have personally heard from Deep Silver and Sumo Digital at different intervals that the game is still under development and, quote, "we're excited to show it to you when it's ready." These games are pricey investments, and the time and development in 2013 through 2015 has to be reimbursed through an eventual release of a long-awaited sequel. Even if Dead Island 2 is really being readied for this generation of consoles, have we all moved on from the campy, over-the-top crafting and zombie slaughter of another Dead Island game, or are you over zombie games altogether? This is Colteastwood. Thank you so much for watching. I wanted to cover this game because, like some of you, I really enjoyed the original Dead Island games, even though I know they're really cheesy, unpolished, and really kind of ugly. But I also like to have fun, and the gameplay of Dead Island and games like Dead Rising are still appealing to me. If you like this game series or this video, like the video and subscribe to the channel. I cover a lot of console gaming news and info here, and if you want to reach out to me, add me on Xbox and Twitter at Colteastwood. My PS4 has basically been powered off for about 6 months, so I am excited for Days Gone in a month. Another zombie game. So I'll be playing that. Let me know in the comment section if you're all zombied out or you still need a good zombie game each year. I look forward to reading what you have to say. I'll be watching down there in the comment section, so remember,